If you're coming across this video, stop and ask yourself, does your soul feel expansive and open? Do you feel receptive? If so, stay tuned. We have a shadow work spread today. We're going to be doing a 5-card spread to explore how you can start your shadow work journey. Shadow work is not something easy to do, but it's totally worth it. And it always makes it better when you have this sort of Venusian, sweet, cutesy, kawaii energy to way show you through it. My name's Claire. Welcome back to Path of Spirals Tarot. Today you will have to just only pick a group. You will just pick one glyph. You can choose a wave, a tulip, or a heart. That's all you have to do to choose a group. Check the timestamps unless you'd like to listen to every single reading. If you feel like there's just a lot of excavation you want to do and you want different avenues to do it, then let's get started. We'll start with group 1, our wave. We call in the highest source energy, angels, archangels, totem animals, and ancestors that are here to help us as we place a crystalline dome over our reading today to keep sacred downloads in, low frequency energies out. We'll be doing 5 cards. The first will represent what is the question really being asked at the core of the shadow work that you need to do. So let's find that out first. Always need an establishing card. Okay, what's really being asked? What's at the core of your shadow work? Okay, 3 of Wands in reversed, okay? Having a blockage around getting your passion and fire and creativity to get it moving. There's a stagnation in your inner fire, your inner Agni, a lack of yang energy, spleen deficiency. If you follow TCM, there's some type of blockage. It's like the flow, your inner chi is a little bit off. And that is trying to signal to you that you have spiritual shadow work to do. We see it upright. He's putting a lot of work in, but he's able to do it. If he's upside down, he's not getting too far, is he? The second card is going to be the context. What led up to right now? What past factors played the most significant role for you? What made you deficient? It's giving a little bit of burnout, directionlessness, listlessness. Okay, Knight of Swords. You were pursuing some type of truth with a lot of fervor, but maybe didn't know what you were actually pursuing. Okay, so it's sort of like you've been a little bit on the surface, almost just taking direction from somebody else. Somebody told you something and you tried to run with it. It feels like poorly given advice that has led to some core false beliefs that have you running with your sword, thinking you're going in some direction, but it's actually leading you to the 3 of Wands upside down. You're getting blocked because you took almost like you took the wrong advice and it made you take the wrong directions and you went down the wrong road. If we read this psychically, shadow work wise, it tells me that you might have a hard time listening to your own inner guidance, that you might downplay your own gut intuition, and it has you ending up in situations that end up burning you in the end. I'm feeling like it's other people taking advantage of you. Often if you have a stagnation in how to get your fire to flow, other people will use their fire against you. I'm feeling it's a little bit like that. I'm seeing you a little bit on fire and in some sticky situations. Likely because you took action but didn't really know, like an action with your words. It's almost like somebody would said something to you, you repeated that back, and it led you to where you've been. Okay. The next is going to represent you at this current moment and what you need to do. What qualities do you need to embody to excavate this shadow side? Okay, I see it. Sticky cards. The 8 of Wands. So this is 8 of Wands upright is about just a sudden change. It's happening quickly. This one is saying there's a blockage here. This is representing you. That you are not having the inner dialogue to let a swift change happen. It's like you're kind of headed in the same direction And something's kind of, it feels like there's a sort of explosive energy that's about to come, because the sun will rise regardless of whether or not you believe it will. So I'm seeing more like delusion, like false. There's like just like a falsity you're carrying in your aura around where you think you're headed. It's giving a little bit of delusion and obsession with the wrong stuff. So it means you are not prepared to face what's coming unless you take some more advice. So something's saying you need to be prepared to pivot, change your mindset, let go of what you think you wish would be true, okay? Because things are about to change real fast. You can barely, it's almost impossible to read this card in reverse permanently, okay? Now, if we read this card as an unlearned lesson from the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Wands is exactly, it's exactly that. Seven of Wands is about knowing how to stand your ground and defend yourself against external factors. It seems like you haven't learned that yet. You're too swayed by popular opinions. You're too swayed by other people trying to program you. And something's coming regardless, and it seems that you are not really prepared for it. And I'm not sure if that's psychically, like within your psyche, a big change is shifting, or if there's going to be an external situation that causes that shift. But it's coming regardless, okay? All right, the next card is your community. Okay, let's put these up here a little bit. Your community. Who else plays a role in this shadow that you're experiencing? Feels like a pretty big deal too. Feels very, just like very hot. Like walking on coals or something, but you don't know what direction you're walking on coals to. It's almost like you don't know what's at the other side of it. Okay. Your community. Two of Wands reversed. This is what's outside of you. Who else plays a role? People outside of you are contributing to your confusion. There's like a Two of Wands reversed. So this is upright. This is about a proper balancing of your inner fire. Or one else, the external situation would be a balancing outer realm of fire. This is saying that there is a blockage there. There is a misdirection of that energy. So the people around you are not contributing to you rebalancing. This whole reading feels a little bit like a forewarning that you need to be really careful about like who's in your life, who's whispering in your ear, what are they saying? It's because it's causing misdirection, it's causing suffering, and it's leading you to dead end. All of these are like leading to a dead end, and you're going to be disappointed with an outcome because you were not being honest with yourself about your own intuition. Okay? That's what I'm seeing here. I'm going to lay this one down right here. So the potential outcome of all of this energy. Let's see. What's the potential outcome here? Okay. Is the High Priestess. Okay, so all of this energy is ultimately going to lead you into a phase of deep inner knowing. You are going to take a step back from the external environments and say, there is so much misdirected energy in your life that like you just can't continue on that way unless you start listening. You start listening to your inner knowing. The High Priestess is ruled by the moon. She's ruled by hidden knowledge, the underrealm. Sort of like you have everything in your life has been on fire, but it's like a subterranean initiation. Finally, you're going to go into this space. It's almost like an initiation into your shadow. Like life has been feeling all sorts of topsy-turvy and delusional. It's just sort of like you're just running and going and be like, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna figure it out. Let me tell you something. And what's telling me is like this card, I'm gonna read this also just outside of this. This indicates sudden, fast, swift movement in your life, and it's gonna come. Okay? It's gonna come. And I think it's going to kind of help. Some penultimate boom boom situation is gonna happen in your life. It's going to kind of get all that other energy out of the way so that this can take the center stage. Okay. So the shadow work is about you not really even knowing much about your inner subconscious, like landscape. And you've been too much in the world And it seems you have a lot of energy. And some people are like that. They have a lot of energy and they can just move all day. But it seems almost like you've been moving for the sake of movement itself. And movement without containment can lead to boom boom situations. Okay. So what's going to be called in is you have to kind of see the situation for what it is. Like the call is kind of coming from inside the house. What you reap is what you sow. And if you're living on the outer shell of your reality, on the fringes, and letting other people influence you, like you're being too much influenced by external energy that is not in alignment with you at all, that's your big indication that you are going to be having this come as a medicine. The only way to break this cycle is you have to get to know yourself better. Okay? You have to ask yourself more questions about yourself. This whole spread is a very, very, very typical initiation into doing shadow work. Okay? So it's like the tip of the iceberg for you. I have a free shadow work PDF that you can download from Google Drive. Check the link in this description. It is 40 questions of shadow work. Now, my advice when doing shadow work is you need to take care of your mental health. So if you don't already have, pay attention to and make sure you have some type of external containment, whether that's therapy, support, somebody who's also doing shadow work. And if you don't have that, call it in. For another, if you choose to start your shadow work on it very slowly. Pay attention to what your psyche gives back to you, what it spits back to you when you start doing it, okay? Entering the subterranean realm is deeply symbolic and it can be disturbing if you don't have the right vocabulary for it. Okay. Always feel free to reach out to me as an individual as well if you're looking for some guidance or way showing. I've been life coaching like my whole life and I specialize in shadow work. I specialize in shamanic journeying. I know a lot about the archetypical symbolic realm, hence why I do shadow work. But ultimately, this is saying you will get to this point, but you have to have better vocabulary for what that's going to look like and how you're going to digest it. Because up until this point, it seems like you just have not been in touch with this really at all. And life has just been getting more and more entropic and just like things are just kind of collapsing for you. And it's just reaching a point where it just can't happen anymore. This is sort of like this is going to be the happenstance, the situation where things shift so much that like all of this comes crumbling down. And it's really leading you to the only other path, which will be the high priestess energy. But the high priestess is a very powerful archetype and individual. She like can will things based on her alchemical inner knowledge. And I mean, she's intimidating. She has boundaries. She's mystical. She kind of disappears for a while. It seems like just like what you need. You ain't always got to be out there getting burned at both ends. Go inwardly. Not everybody has to know what's going on in this new transformation, and it's better for yourself spiritually to protect yourself and keep a low profile. Hello, group 2. I've put your tulip over here in the back. Your turn for a shadow work spread. We're going to pull 5 cards, and the first is going to indicate what question are we asking? What's our entry point into the shadow work that you should do? What's the most useful information? That will be our through line as we pull more specific cards. We have the 5 of Wands. We've pulled it in reverse. Upright, this represents competitive chaos. Within the realm of Wands, this discusses an interaction where your fire and energy meets other people's and crashes with their ego and hierarchy. It's a little bit like crabs in a bucket. And this card indicates one is is partaking and challenging those around them, participating in the circus of other people's opinions. If we pull this in reverse, we might see this as an unlearned lesson from the 4 of Wands. We might see this as a bit of a repression of this card, whereby there is still competition, but it's unbeknownst to you. So it could be that you're sharing your energy a bit too freely with others and not having discernment and paying attention to how they're actually responding. This card is a little bit of a forewarning that there could be individuals around you that don't have your best interest at heart. And if the core of the shadow work for you is that this is a chronic thing that's been happening, there is a way to identify, there's a way to identify where that source, where's the source of that? This is a symptom. Getting burned by people, not understanding that people are kind of out to take something from you, that they don't actually want to see you do well, for example. That's all what this card is. It's very red. It's very ancillary. It's, also them all kind of ganging up together against the querent, talking in a circle, figuring out what they're going to do to cause some type of harm. It's a lack of protection. The Four of Wands comes before this, and it's kind of the opposite of this card upright. It's about celebrations, a rite of passage. It could be graduating, it could be getting married, but I also see it as if we haven't really learned that lesson, there's been something kind of gone awry, plans that just haven't worked out, and things just not really feeling the way that you would want them to feel. It's almost like you're trying to go after things in your life, hoping to achieve a feeling you are not getting, and it happens all the time. So it's creating this sense of sort of chronic dissatisfaction in one's life, which can lead to envy and projection of that onto other people. And I can tell you right now, that is not a fun place to be in, and it's not good for your health. And it will not bring you the abundance that you would hope it would bring, because that's just not how things work. We need to have a different script, okay? The second card is going to reveal the context. What led up to right now? What past factors played the most significant role? Okay. Okay, Nine of Cups reversed. This is about a misperception in one's abundance and resources. Nine of Cups upright, he's a little bit manic, if you will. He's like, I have my boulders. He has so much abundance. There's a blockage to that abundance for you, likely based on your perspective of what you have. It's almost like you maybe take for granted what you have. These two cards together tell me that you don't find a lot of joy, or like the feeling of joy does not visit you when you stop to think about what you already have. It's almost like you're not programmed very much to think so much from a place of gratitude. It's like even when you obtain more and more, because this guy has a lot, it tells me that there is a lot that you have. Gaining more doesn't actually give you the feeling that you're looking for. Instead, it's creating this kind of sense of dissatisfaction, and that's reflected in your connections with other people. Okay? 3 represents you and what you must do. What qualities are needed now that we are becoming aware of what shadows are at play? This represents you and what you need to do. Okay, Ace of Swords reverse. This represents you. This means that you have not been honest with yourself about how certain facets of how you navigate life are not working. It's talking a little bit about more deception, lying to oneself, or pushing off the truth of how you really feel because you're too busy trying to distract yourself by doing the same things, somehow hoping for a different outcome. That's super shadow worky to me. The aces cannot stay in reverse for long. They want to be upright. So this is telling me that what you need to do is accept the truth of how you actually feel, how moving through the world lately has not been doing it for you, and you have not been getting the outcomes you think you would like. Emphasis on what you think you would like, because something tells me is you're not entirely sure of what would make you feel satisfied. But accepting the truth is a good place to start. If you're living inauthentically, living in a place of delusion and avoidance, you can't let the medicine of what the actual truth is come in and pierce your heart in a good way. Okay? So let's put that down. You have to be willing to accept how you actually feel, even if the feelings aren't good. Because sometimes you have to feel a little bit worse before you feel better. And instead you're like, no, I should eventually, you've been kind of like, I should eventually start to feel the way I want to feel if I just continue to do what I've done. No. No. Please listen to me. Listen to me, my little tulip. That's not how it works. 4 is your community. Who else plays a role in this shadow work? It's like my guides are trying to decide. There's so many things they could tell you. Okay, I think it's in here. They're doing the most right now. Okay. Queen of Wands. Your community. There's some energy, some person outside of you that's like the life of the party. It's almost like I sort of feel like you have been in this loop because there's somebody that you almost aspire to be. You see other people who have what you're trying to feel, or you perceive them as feeling good the way you've been trying to feel for a long time, and you have not been able to feel it for yourself. So I feel like there's a bit of a fixation on this other person, and just thinking that you will maybe get there if you continue with the same loop. And I'm telling you that this person who's enjoying their life has much more of an intuitive understanding of what feels like the right thing and what doesn't. She's very in touch with her fire and her creativity. And there might be somebody in your life that you are deeply envious of, because like, how are they like that all the time? They're just this magnet, and people always want to hear what they have to say, and it's just they seem so unbothered by things, and why does nothing bad ever happen to them? It's sort of like I feel like that's kind of how you feel about other people. It might not just be one person, it might be like you sort of perceive people collectively, you know, in comparison to how you're feeling. They carry much more of this energy. Okay, now 5 is the potential outcome. I'll put this down. The potential outcome. Okay, potential outcome for you. Trickster energy. Oops, I forgot to take that out of the deck. Something tells me that when I'm telling you this, you almost don't want to hear it a little bit. You're a little bit like, no, like, I'm going to get there eventually. I'm telling you. These cards are trying to call you out on your resistance to hearing what this message is. It's almost like you're joking with yourself. We pulled this in reverse, right? Because there's trickery afoot, and the call's coming from inside the house. That's how it feels to me anyway. Okay. Let's pull one more. That card's not going to tell us much else. The moon. Well, it's basically the same as that. Things still being not feeling like what they seem. The moon is a beautifully spiritual card, but I sort of feel like the reading ultimately is planting a seed in your psyche. It's making you start to stop and think, but I don't know. It might be like you're here to get the seed, but you might not get much else out of this reading today. And here's the thing. You can't force the change in a person until they're ready for that change. And sometimes that change comes after cumulative pushes and nudges from the universe. So I sort of see this reading today as being one of those cumulative nudges for you. We have brought up themes that you're not going to be able to shake. But your commitment to the cycles that you're in still seems pretty intense. And there's sort of like this obsessive fixation on what you're already doing eventually working. And I'm telling you that that's not going to work in the long run, but maybe you need to exhaust this part of yourself so that you get to a place where there's really no other choice other than to surrender and try something else. I'm just reading it like I see it. I'm not trying to be negative or to be too much of a call out or be calling you out too harshly. Just if the outcome card is the moon, it tells me there's still some spiritual digesting you have to do. I wonder, you can also go look this up. Check on your astrological natal chart. You check where your Chiron is in your chart. If you're really like, I know Jenna, like I'm listening. If you're really like, no, Claire, like I'm listening, like I really want to find the change. I want to be receptive to it. Maybe go into a deep dive in your astrological chart and check where your Chiron is and check where you have squares in your chart. Check the aspects for squares. That's what I'm feeling like. If you want to make this more relational to you as an individual and less broad as a general reading, I would maybe check there, because the Chiron represents the wounded healer. This energy sort of feels a little bit like that because it's such a loop. It's almost like you're trying to heal yourself through this same metric. And it might just be that you're living in this loop. And that's what Chiron teaches us, is that there are certain loops that we're not meant to fully heal, because we are meant to cultivate a sharpened sense of wisdom from the insanity of not healing the thing. That it becomes some greater alchemical force that we take with us at the end of our lives. So I'm getting a little bit of that here for you. Your shadow is going to remain somewhat in the shadows, but if you are determined to figuring it out, keep pushing. But something else that tells me here too is that like you don't get the message, and it doesn't like fully stick until your psyche is ready for it. And if it ever came sooner, if ever anybody tried to force anything too quickly and your psyche is not receptive to it, it's either not going to land, or it could be really cause a bit of an upheaval in your psyche that could be really disruptive to your waking life. And part of healing is we want to have a container for it. So we want to have the discretion to know what we can and cannot handle, because it's like going to the gym. There's a lot of ways to go to the gym right, and there's even more ways to go to the gym wrong. Shadow work and addressing the shadow is the same exact way. Okay, so something tells me there's a lot here that's still incubating, and the fact that you are aware enough of it that you'll come and listen to a reading about it could just be the genesis of the start for you. And just honor that. There's nothing wrong with not being fully ready to fully address some loop in your life, because there could be other complicating external factors there too. Life is not happening in isolation. There might be other people around you that you just like have to work with in order to get through your days. You know, it's not just about getting to sit and sing kumbaya and sit in meditation all day. You are living a life. It's likely you have a job. You might have kids. There are other things that make it such that certain seasons of life don't allow for as much deep inner excavation. But that doesn't mean that you can't envision something for the future too, okay? So that's how I feel about this reading today. I hope that makes sense for you. And just know that there will come a season, we're entering spring, where things will break through. So, you know, just because that's the current energy, that could just be the current energy for the next week or two. You know, we pulled a lot of wands. Wands move within days. We pulled the Nine of Cups, which we could read that some facets of your lesson might take a little bit under a year. And like the Ace of Swords, we can indicate almost like a conflict, like the conflict coming to resolution for you. If we read it on the realm of timelines, Ace usually represents days. So that could be within a couple of days that you have something of an epiphany, but you're going to be digesting it for a while. And I see these two kind of living in conjunction. This is 9 of Cups and the moon is 18. And that you could also see that as like from 1 year to a year and a half, you're still going to kind of be living in this cycle a little bit. The other thing too is like, I don't want you to feel like the Queen of Wands energy is so out of reach for you, but it's not about you pretending, and it's not about obsessing over the other person or casting jealousy at that person. Okay. It's actually about you addressing your dark side. That's what gives you swag. Okay. Going through hard stuff, like going through maddening things and making it to the other side, is what actually makes your soul lighter and gives you this energy. It's not by force or envy. That's not how it works. Okay. It seems like it might be that way. Your ego might tell you that that is that way, but it is not true. Okay, group 2, thanks for listening. Hope it was received well. See you in the next one. All right, group 3, it's time to start your shadow work spread. The first card is going to be an establishing card. What question is actually being asked? What are we actually addressing? So that we can deepen the reading with 4 more cards, okay? Okay, we have the 10 of Swords in reverse. Okay, so the 10 of Swords is about upright, like being penetrated by the ultimate truth, an inability to avoid what could come with the truth. But being penetrated by it anyways. Like this person is finally surrendering at the end. There's no avoiding what is coming if it's written to come, right? So if we have this in reverse, I would read this as a fear of embrace. We might also read this as like your ego is currently at a place where it's feeling a bit self-righteous and prideful to a fault, that it is clouding your discernment. And then there's also the looming reality of this card upright, which is just like, the truth will come. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It doesn't matter whether or not you're prideful or self-righteous or have yourself in a position to feel powerful. External circumstances can always change, and sometimes they can be in such a way that they cause you to be in surrender. It's like a humbling moment. Like the swords in and of themselves are quite intense, and they reveal a lot about how our egos digest change and truth and conflict. But the penultimate outcome for the pip cards here, Ace through 10, is that the truth will come. It'll also set you free. So there is some sort of pillar that you have maybe put yourself on to avoid what's happening here. Yeah, a very common phenomenon. Everybody, phenomenon rather. People do this all the time, and it is like we have to see these cards. Like I always see all the swords. It's like they're all very healthy outcomes of how the ego digests what happens to it, and that's sort of juxtaposed with the inevitability of the truth and of conflict and of resolution. So when the ego ultimately does not win. The truth and like the truth is always going to come out on top, and it will impale you eventually. But we don't see that these swords are necessarily fully going through. They're like somewhat translucent. So I always like to see this card as like it's piercing the parts of you that should be digested into something lighter to carry. I am curious though, the pridefulness, the boastfulness, the self-righteousness, convincing yourself, like what is self-righteousness? It's the point you reach where you feel that everything that you do and say and how you move through the world is totally justified because everything you perceive is correct. Although there are many different ways to process information and to address conflict. I mean, that's why one of these, one of the major or minor arcanas is about conflict, because there are so many different phases to it. There are so many different ways that people encode conflict and decode it. You know what I mean? So it's worthy of being one of these dimensions of life, because we have to interact within our own inner dialogue or inner monologues, and also interacting with other people. Okay, so that's where you're starting here. Okay, the next card is going to represent the context, like what led up to this energy here. Okay, we have the Six of Swords. Okay, so there was a point here where you were likely trying to escape the feelings that you've been having. Okay, because upright, this is about taking a break from regrouping, going on vacation, like literally traveling it can be seen as, but also like just metaphorically taking a beat and integrating what you've learned so far. If we see this in reverse, you haven't really been able to do that. So we might read the Ten of Swords reversed as you being in this place of the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is like a hollow victory, like feeling like it needs to look like you won. It needs to look like you came out on top, and you will go to great lengths to make it appear that way. And I don't mean that in such a malicious way, because even the best, smartest, brightest, most fairy like people, witches, everybody has to move through every single card in this minor arcana suit. So like you don't have to like read it as like, oh, you're like a full-blown narcissist. It's just sometimes when especially when we are relating to other people, one of the ways our psyches try to protect ourselves and our ego gets involved is by that sort of self-righteousness. So like that type of thinking can say like, you're not actually addressing the underlying feelings when interacting with those around you. It's more or less creating a dialogue or creating a sense of belief that nobody is right except you. And that also helps you avoid accountability in the short term for processing emotions of hurt, betrayal, and not feeling understood, right? You probably have wounds around that. And so your psyche, your ego has created this complex that is like the antithesis of that. But that complex will never actually address the root of the problem. Okay, now all blocked cards want to be upright. So what we might say is, what would happen if you took a break from this self-righteousness? Like what happens if you just say like, you know what, I'm going to like hit the reset button a little bit here. I'm going to remove myself from the heat of this moment, because something tells me this is like familial, this is like maybe work related, but there are other people involved here. It's not just you. But if you have some paid leave, maybe take it. If you're able to take a couple sick days, maybe chill out. If you're not employed, but you're still around people that have this, are kind of reinforcing this energy that you need to alchemize into something else, it'd be good to take a break. Something tells me you are avoiding taking a break. Maybe you feel like you have obligations to your family or your job that are just too important. This card is saying, no, they're not. Your mental health is ultimately more important. Okay? Choose to take the break, or your body will choose a day for you. Now, the next card is going to represent you in the situation, / what qualities are needed for you to move through these realizations that we're unveiling. Okay, so you are represented as an ace. That's very interesting to be represented as an opportunity itself. This tells me, and it's blocked, right? And aces hate being blocked. But if you are supposed to take on the qualities of new emotional and spiritual insights, that's what's being asked of you. That's what needs to come in, but they're blocked right now. They are blocked. If you take that break, if you take a beat and remove yourself from that environment, that's reinforcing this whole like mental chaff. This card's going to be able to be upright. Nothing comes before an ace. So an ace of any suit rather, has a very difficult time remaining this way. It's probably the most top heavy. It's like, no, it wants to be like this. You put it up like this, it takes a lot of force to keep it there. It's just gonna go, wow. Right? Some cards, like this card, the 6 of Swords, can remain in reverse a little bit better. Right? 6 of Swords has an easier time remaining in reverse because its reversal can indicate lessons that have yet to be learned from the preceding card. But the ace, nothing precedes it. So it's like, what are you doing being blocked? There is no excuse. It's almost like it's inevitable that it's going to turn up right. Okay, so this whole taking a beat means you're going to be given a new playbook. Okay, you need to surrender to the new playbook. Okay, that's what that's saying. 4 is your community / who else plays a role in this situation. So we're looking for some external factor that's going to give us a clue. Like Scooby-Doo, we need a clue. Who are we ripping the mask off of? If it weren't for you and those, what are they saying, Scooby-Doo? If it weren't for those meddling kids, is that what it was? Okay, so we have the Emperor energy. There are people outside of you that have a very commanding energy. This brings it back to this thought that almost like this was work related. So there might be somebody who hierarchically stands above you or positions themselves in a position to seem like they know everything. Also, he looks like Drake. So I oftentimes read this as like, I mean, yeah, Drake has a whole career and he has success. He's also a meme, So it's kind of a little bit like the Emperor's new clothes kind of vibe sometimes with this card. Don't get me wrong. This is the yang external penetrative force manifest in a person, and that doesn't have to be something we cringe over. But something tells me in conjunction with you feeling self-righteous means that the external factor is somebody who maybe has more power over you, but they're gooning super hard. They're like somebody you find hard to respect. And instead of like, the only way you know how to react to that is by having, this self-righteous sort of pridefulness about yourself as the antidote to avoiding it. And if you're in a situation where like this is like a work environment or it's just an unavoidable person, it doesn't surprise me that you've been feeling the way that you've been feeling. I get it. We get it. Nobody's blaming you here. But something tells me that the winds are kind of shifting when your attitude shifts a little bit, because the festering energy between, this dynamic, it is something that you can shift away from. It's just going to require a different outlook. Okay. It's almost like you're showing up every day to your job or to this dynamic with this person, and self-righteousness is the only thing that keeps you sane. But the cards are saying, take a break, get a new script. This whole system will fall away and you'll get something better. That's what I'm seeing so far. But you have to learn something internally. You have to be able to let go of it. Let go of having to seem like you're right. Let go of the chip on your shoulder about hierarchies, okay? This is what it is, okay? Now, the most likely outcome, the culmination, how are we answering the question about this? Is we have the page of coins in reverse. So the outcome is a sense of curiosity with trying something new. I often read this as vocational work that comes to you, legacy work, a new hobby, a DIY, anything you can do with your hands, or any way that your health can shift in a positive direction while taking on the qualities of a virtuous, altruistic child of curiosity and play. So when you heed the advice This is the energy that you will start to emulate and that will start to surround you. And that's a super hopeful card, like on literally on to greener pastures, where you get to explore some new vistas and there's really no ego investment at all. Like none of the pages really have an ego. I actually think out of all the court cards, my favorite are any page because they're here to have a good time. They emulate the energy of their suit, but they haven't yet evolved an ego. They haven't yet learned the street smarts of how to manipulate their element into something that can benefit them, but they still benefit from it because they are that energy, but they're that energy as a child. So like children are very powerful, but they lack other facets of integration into life. But sometimes you need to go back to that childlike sort of regressive energy to learn something new. It's like the inner child at play. Something's coming through for me. Ceramics. Do you want to do ceramics? Go make something with your hands. Make a beaded bracelet. Get into blacksmithing. I don't know. What's your budget? When you take vacation, maybe this is also like not just taking a permanent not just taking a temporary like week-long vacation, but creating more like break energy, making more time in your schedule for folly and play and wonder, because this energy got you way too like knotted up. Like my bum hole is really clenched looking at this dynamic here, but I really like what I see over here. And notice how I like turned the Ace of Cups and they've been staying upright. So your blockage is very short-lived, okay? Now also, if we read this a little bit in the lines of like how and like at what time point are you going to start seeing the fruition of these things? 10 of Swords would indicate about 10 days. 10 days more of this energy kind of really being something you're dealing with. 6 of Swords would be about a week before this energy starts to come in. So like it's almost like you're going to take the break and then this energy is going to start to dissolve a little bit. And then around the same time, we also have Ace of Cups, which can be also about maybe to 1 month. We start to tap in more. The more weeks that go by that we start to resolve this issue, you're going to have that. And then within Page of Coins could be also read a little bit like it is a person, but it's a shorter time frame within coins, which would be like months to a year. So I'd say, within a realistic time frame, maybe several months up to upwards of 1 year, when you change the trajectory, you're going to start seeing more of this energy take up your auric field. The Emperor represents 4. 4 of what? 4 months maybe. The essence or the presence of him might last for 4 months, but you're looking at an overall time frame of actually like a week to a month for some shifts to happen here. Week and a half, up towards a month. And then within the course of the year, this is the new energy that's going to start following you into 2027. Okay. All right. That is about all I have for you, group 3. And we will chat later. Bye. This has been your reading today at Path of Spirals Tarot. My name is Claire. Thank you so much for tuning in here. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you found to be the most useful information in the reading today. If you felt like something really resonated with you, I'd love to hear it. And you can find me here, Path of Spirals Tarot on YouTube and on Instagram. And till tomorrow, we'll see you later and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.